response video to a couple of videos again. I'm going to mix the subjects, and it'll probably be a 7-hour video because this one's 52 minutes long. 52 minutes. I'd like to play it all and just say, why did you need to say that? Isn't that redundant? There's got to be some redundancy in here. I mean, if I was making an argument, I can do 52 minutes because I can explain in depth and with real, I can give it some bite. But I'm not too sure he pulled it off. But anyway, in the other one, Piero did some, paraphrase of his drunken peasants broadcasty thing. Drunken pest. Anyway, this guy's a bug. Anyway, he's just full of shit. He just, he just doesn't understand anything. Well, anyway, so basically, he's talking about the economy. Apparently, he read some book recently that says all the value is in land and blah, 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 and that's where the rich are stealing all our money. And no. He doesn't understand shit about shit. He actually said something like, well, interest isn't a problem. Interest is the problem. It is the entire problem. It is unsustainable growth in possession. For nothing. For not doing any work. For possession. It is surplus increasing. It's almost like you go back to the slave days, and like Jefferson wrote this all down on a piece of paper once, I think. Gee, if we keep breeding slaves, the slaves will outnumber us by 768 million to 4. And it's the same kind of thing with the slavery of interest. Interest has to be paid by somebody, a debtor, and the debt just keeps increasing as the acquisition of ownership keeps increasing. So it's not real money. It's a claim on the real money. So that's what debt is. People think debt is money. It's not money. It's a claim on money. It's a claim on the gold. It's a claim on the commodities. It's a claim on everything. It's funny money. But anyway, so he's too stupid to understand it. So maybe I'll talk about that too. But anyway, we're on this prostitution bullshitty thing. And abolitionism, because you say something like, it's intrinsically and fundamentally exploitative, and I'm really not for voting for let's get more exploitative. I want to kind of get rid of this whole idea of exploitation. The idea is, I was thinking about it the other day. I have to jack up this house. It's got some issues, so I have to climb under the house and jack it up. Spring day, I'll save that for. And there's always a risk. You're jacking the thing up, you break the damn timber, the whole frickin' house falls on you and crushes you. So, yeah, it'd be nice if I was rich, then I can evade the risk, right? I can have some poor slob, do the dangerous work. It's just an exploitation, right? Well, that's all prostitution turns into. It's not some sort of, these people aren't going on some holiday trip. This isn't Pretty Woman the movie. Reality isn't. So, whatever. I'm just saying I don't endorse it, okay? Yeah, it exists because everybody's an idiot. They don't want a better world, so they don't make it a better world. And really, this whole sexuality thing is just a head game anyway, and these fucktards don't even understand that. So, whatever, you want to turn that into abolitionism? Fine, okay, yes, I want to abolish exploitation, wherever it exists. Fuckhead. Idiot. Retard. So let's play some of this nonsense.
Got into the habit of doing this. I know that when I did my pragmatarianism video, he said that I claimed democracy was a popular fallacy, and no one can watch that pragmatarianism video and come away.
Pragmatarianism. I mean, nobody can watch it. You were right. That's the quote we need. Nobody can watch that pragmatarianism video. That's right. Nobody can. You have gotten so obtuse and fucking foul ball that nobody can come near you. You're not anywhere, you're not on any one of the planets in the solar system.
With that as the conclusion, I simply pointed out that no one really views democracy as an end. Everyone views it as a means to an end. And if you're going to say you view it as something more than as a means to an end, like it's non-instrumentally important, simple thought experiment.
Oh, whatever. Okay, so now he's going to talk about democracy. Okay. Which is fine, because he doesn't understand shit about that either. So what's the premise here is that we're going to have a stupid, inane, pointless argument about whether democracy is essential or whether it's just the lesser of evils. So you choose the lesser of evils. I think it's clearly essential, but I mean, yeah, it's clearly essential that you have something called a lesser of evils. Yeah.
You have two worlds. One world, everyone gets a chance to vote, and everyone does vote, and no one's right to vote is ever taken away, but no one gets what they want out of their own life. Everyone lives the worst possible existence, an existence they wouldn't wish on their worst enemy.
Well, I don't know. You know, this is a scenario written by you, for your purposes, right? So again, that's not the concession you're making in democracy. So it's hardly slavery. It's hardly the worst of a dictatorship. So that's what you're really protecting yourself against. You're attempting to protect yourself against the worst of it, which is they don't like me and they figure on genociding me.
Even though they have a chance to vote. And then you have the other world.
Well, again, that wasn't even the subject of democracy because we really don't even have those rights. So I'm just saying if we actually did democracy decently and we actually did give people a fair representation and we got rid of all these little shammy rigs and the 30 times the voting power in Alaska and all that kind of crap, then you could almost say for a lesser of evils, this fucking thing ain't too bad. You get to have a good fight. You get to argue your case in the Congress. Everybody's there. The Ku Klux Klan's there. The Black Nationals are there. All the little groups are represented because everybody has every minority has a free access to use their voting power. Nobody is excluded by the party game, Republican Democrat game. So yeah, if you get rid of this party bullshit and have a real democracy where real points of view are represented, yeah, democracy might even kick ass.
No one ever gets a chance to vote. No one ever has any sort of democratic rights. But because of fortune or because of a benevolent dictator or a technocrat, everyone's interests are absolutely actualized. Everyone lives their ideal life.
Yeah, again, so you're painting this out of magic crayons, okay? We're gonna play magic crayons now instead of reality.
Their genuinely ideal life, fully informed.
Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I get the point. I have a magic pencil, and I'm drawing a magic world that doesn't exist anywhere in reality and pragmatically has no hope of existing because no one's going to live forever, and your benevolent dictator will drop the fuck dead, and his evil brother will take over, or some other kind of bullshit, and he'll sell the whole store for $50 because he needs a hooker.
Interests get realized. Okay? Now, I know it's highly unlikely for this to be the case, but in order to just illustrate the point...
I don't know. What did you really illustrate a point? What? The point is the what? You can make up a leprechaun story and tell it? Oh, fine. Oh, I could probably make up some kind of story like that. They eat cornbread, the leprechauns in the South.
I can still pose the ultimatum, and nobody will actually say the former world ought to be brought about simply because it's so important that people have a chance to vote.
Well, again, I don't know where in my argument I said that's so important that people have a chance to vote. What I said is it's important to have a fair fight. Yeah, that's really cool. Fair fighting is cool. Cheating is sucky.
No, voting's important when it tends to have good outcomes. When it doesn't, it's easily...
Oh, yeah, well, so yes, well, you voted for the Civil War, I guess, then, right? Because they lost the vote, so then they got all petty and decided to knock the board game over and just say, fuck you, I'm not playing anymore. Weasel. Cunt.
Scrappable for something else. And that's why no one should identify. No one should have, as part of their political identifier, Democratic this, or, something Democrat. Or anything of this.
Yeah, well, whatever. So again, your notion is because somehow a representative democracy is intrinsically fail-worthy, or junk-worthy, or whatever your categorization is. It's in the bin. It doesn't work. Well, fuck you. Try it. I think it'll work.
Sort. But then Inmendham chimes in and says that I said in the video that democracy is an ad populum fallacy. That's not what I said. Then the second to last video, I discussed dual consequentialism. The point is...
Yeah, well, if I said it, you probably are guilty of it. I mean, I think you did make some sort of reference that the blah, 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 and you didn't concede to the obvious point, which is people accept democracy because it's better than the alternatives, which is we don't have any magic crayons and can't make benevolent dictators out of them. Fuckhead. I mean, really, if we could all have an election and say, would you want to vote for a benevolent dictator? Oh, yes, please, let me have one of those.
It basically be boiled down to praiseworthiness should not necessarily be brought about, and blameworthiness should not necessarily be guarded against. Because what we should actually strive to bring about is that which is fortunate, and what we should strive to not bring about is that which is unfortunate.
Well, to who? So again, we're back to, what's the point of this stupid argument? Fortunate by whose definition? A slave owner, the slave. So fuck this bullshit. This doesn't mean anything. What we're talking about is who should win. How do you get to the fight, and how do you guarantee or provide some mechanism or some hope that right will win and prevail and all that kind of crap? Well, I don't think dictatorship is the way you do that. That doesn't have a very good record.
At least in terms of retrospective verdicts. Praiseworthiness and blameworthiness don't have normative force.
Who the fuck cares? I mean, I really am not in the mood to worry about praise or blame or any of this other bullshit. It's whether what works and what doesn't work. And I'm just pointing out the simple truth that we don't have your choices, jackass. So, yeah, in the real world, you have to decide whether you want something that's built on a fair game or an unfair game. Those are the two choices. Because your magic, only the good people will get extraordinary power, is just not likely, asshole.
Their moral know-how. That was a simple point. There's a lot more to it than that, but you can sort of get the gist that was the point. Inmendham does a video and says it was incomprehensible. The way I explained it was incomprehensible.
Well, that was being charitable, to tell you the truth. What it was a pile of steaming, annoying, inane, tedious shit. But, yes, incomprehensible pretty much does say it, if you add all that shitty words and stuff. Yeah. Just think about incomprehensible naked. Yeah, then you'll get it.
Why I feel the need to point that out. There's plenty of stuff Inmendham discusses that I feel in here is just totally incomprehensible. Like most of his physics videos, I don't feel the need to rag on.
Well, I wish you would. Go ahead and give it a shot, buddy. Okay, yeah, I could use a little entertainment. The truth is, you don't know shit about the subject, so you can't really rag on it because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're out of your little element there. So, yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to do much arguing in any kind of coherent manner against my points. So, out of luck there, I think.
Because I don't fully understand what he's talking about.
Exactly, because you don't fully understand physics.
But then I disengage. He doesn't feel the need to disengage. When something's incomprehensible...
I don't feel the need... I speak to you like twice a year, if at all, right? Or even maybe it's less than that. We've gone seems like decades without even communicating. And yet you're saying I'm haranguing and I'm watching every word now. And just a minute out to get me, being a pity. Fuck you! I saw your video. You don't want me to watch your videos? Okay, fine. Just say that. Say, Inmendham, please don't watch my videos because you might react to them thinking they were incomprehensible or stupid. And I don't want you to do that. Fine.
To him, he feels the need to rag on it. Last video included.
I didn't feel a need to rag on it. What I felt the need to do was to say, well, just like Piro just made a video talking absolute shit. And I said, well, I'm going to have to say something because that was absolute shit. Interest is the enemy, buttheads. If you think it's okay for your silo of wheat to keep growing, and then your kids get it and it grows and it keeps growing and it keeps growing and nobody has to pay for that growth, then you're a retard.
Apparently. So let's see what he has to say here. I'm going to speed the video up.
I mean, surplus is essentially a slave, you know what I mean? And if you're allowed to keep the surplus breeds, so to speak. And that's all it is. It's breeding surplus.
Up a bit, so this hopefully doesn't take forever, because I did one of my long intros now, unfortunately, without even meaning to.
Yeah, okay, well, he's going to play my video, so that'll be obnoxious. I have to go eat my dinner, so we'll come back to this. We'll wait till he gets to the actual clip.
So yeah, let's play this.
Okay, yeah, I don't like that. Yeah, I won't play my own clip, so I guess we're back to taking notes or something, or whatever I'll do. We'll see how it goes. So, anyway. So I'll be back. Eventually. Yeah. Well, you know, it always turns out to be. I see, for me, it seems like I'll be back sometime in the future, but for you, it's going to be like, hey, there's Gary. Yeah, he said he was going to be right back, but I didn't think he'd get back that quick. It'll be like that for you. Time dilation and everything. All the perpendicular dimensions will disappear, and you'll think, hey, shit, that was instantaneous. It's the way the mechanism works. Anyway, till now. Back. Yeah, so, he's here ragging about, this is this argument. Okay, so let's create this perfect world where people have free choices because everybody's rich or something. And it's just so unrealistic. And we know the people who buy the most lottery tickets are the poor, and they spend a huge percentage of their income, right, their welfare checks, on these lotteries, like up to 10%. So, yeah, we know subsistence living isn't that great because these people are desperate to get out of that poverty. So let's not pretend that even if you're getting a welfare check, you're probably living in a shitty community, in a shitty place, and you just love to be able to get the fuck out of there. And so he just made the comment that, oh yeah, well, the average person on welfare is living better than the Queen of England did in, 1328. Well, yeah, so what? I mean, what does that have to do with human psychology? Oh, that's right, absolutely nothing. And the fact that we always make relative comparisons. And certainly we always make absolute ones where we want immunity from everything. And money buys that, and that's just the truth. So let's just quit pretending here. Again, that money is not going to be a factor in some utopia you're going to create. Well, yeah, if you can create the utopia, okay, fine. Money's not a factor and people do everything because they want to do it, fine. Legalize everything then. Or something like that. But till then, not probably a good idea. So we'll play a little bit of snarky bullshit.
Not real thing. It's just not realistic. First off, this whole pay everybody a wage thing is not really what I'm not saying that much to go out and work every day, so my neighbor can watch TV.
Right.
You're not going to have to work. You didn't read the fucking 2013 Oxford study that I linked in the underbar.
Right. You're not going to have to work. Again, this is just pretend. All right, fine. You think that's really coming. The future's coming and everything is going to be great. Nobody has to go to work and all the people who go to work are going to love their jobs. That's the future we're heading for. No, the real evidence points to exactly the opposite. People are paid less to do shittier jobs. Fact. So, yeah, keep being deluded.
Read that study. Then get back to me on this.
No, I'm not going to get back to you. You're an idiot. If you think all the trends are pointing to people working less hours, more voluntarily, you're insane. Certifiably insane if you think that's reality.
Because the point you're making right now is a non sequitur. You wouldn't have to work. Everything would be computerized. By 2030.
Again, okay, if you think this fantasy is going to happen, fine. Well, I didn't know you were a lunatic. I mean, you believe in a flat earth, too? What are you, insane? You really are just fucking insane. And again, you just have absolutely no comprehension of basic human motivations. Competitiveness. Fine. I'm just saying, it's idiotic. You're an idiot. Yeah, you're an idiot. So why am I watching an idiot's video? Damn it. Oh, that's right. That's because there are nothing but idiots. That's why. What choice do I have? I don't have one. All right. Well, I'll come back to this. But I mean, that's just this. I think it's a good argument, maybe. Boy, the ignorance is just so deep. This lack of understanding of economics is being revealed here. Like Piero, he really just doesn't understand the economy, what makes value. And so he just used the argument that, okay, in the future is supposed to be cutthroat. So 1 minute we're having this leisure society where we all have summer homes on the beach. And of course, my house is closest to the beach. But anyway, which doesn't make any sense. And now he says, okay, so it's this cutthroat environment, and so now we need to create more job opportunities. And it's just like, these aren't jobs, idiot. They're not productive, okay? They're not like putting electricity, hardware, or infrastructure or something. They're like healthcare. They're money down the toilet, in the sense that they're nothing but expensive, in the sense that it does nothing but spread disease, fundamentally. There's no real productive value because it's all this head game bullshit, and that doesn't have any value. And when you get real nuts and bolts about what runs an economy, what runs an economy is making something of value, not satisfying itches and band-aids, so to speak. It's cures are the real value. That's real productivity. So I'm just saying, you just don't saying that it's good that we have some more non-productive work to siphon the wages from the real productive workers, so they can pay. The productive workers can pay the welfare person to buy hookers. No, that really isn't going to be very productive. And it's not going to happen. It's just, when he keeps saying, I have to keep putting this in some context of his pure fantasy, where everybody has everything they want, and yet they still want hookers. Anyway, 12-year-old ones. Idiot. Alright, so right here he's saying I didn't specify my views on abolitionism. And, well, in what context? Again, I don't really, it's not a word I'm going to use. I'm just saying I don't want government to advocatism. So can we change the subject to advocatism versus abolitionism? Or sanctionism? What's your view on sanctionism? I don't think a civilization should sanction behavior that's fundamentally destructive to the human organism's welfare. And I don't think it's fundamentally constructive to monetize sex, and that you'll get nothing better than the gambling psychology, the very thing that, you see how destructive that is. Poor people wasting their food stamp money on lottery tickets, selling their neighbors their food stamp food so they can go buy lottery tickets. Not a good psychology, not healthy, nothing to sanction as a society. I'm not saying you put these people in jail. I'm just saying discouraging it is a good idea, a damn good idea, frankly, because it doesn't do, it's not a productive road. And it's as soon as you do sanction it, you're just opening the door to all kinds of exploitation, and that's where it goes. And so to pretend that, because we don't have a perfect solution, we should engineer some bullshit solution where you'll decide how many victims is acceptable, how many victims you'll make, how many dead 13-year-olds, for example, or something, with AIDS or something. What number is acceptable to you? Well, I'd say as soon as you're accepting those circumstances, you're already displayed yourself to have no concept of acceptable such.
On that. I think at some point you even said, well, I don't really know how to fix this.
Right, I wouldn't fix it with a government sanction, is my point. My point is you want to fix the relationship between men and women? Would you have some cure for that? I'm saying it's probably not something government should get into, and it shouldn't get into it on this dark side. It should get into it on some sort of subsidized, positive relationships between people, wherever you can. I certainly wouldn't subsidize child production. I mean, that's certainly a unproductive behavior. But certainly if you could take the child production out of it and you could have a sanction for people in stable, productive relationships, see if you can look like the Curies or something. See if you can a man and a woman can work together and actually accomplish something. Yay, bravo. Yeah, let's reward that with a little bonus, a little extra peanut butter.
see where you take it.
We make in life. And I just find it totally unrealistic in the sense that clearly what we know what happens is that it gets, it always tends to drive down to younger and younger girls, and that's part of the problem. And
yeah, those proponents of legalization and prostitution, and their silly, underhanded schemes to get rid of age of consent laws. Oh wait, no, they're not doing that. Right, so this is a non sequitur again.
Oh, it's not a non sequitur. To keep pretending that your law has any ability to solve the problem is the non sequitur, asshole. So you're basically just saying, I will allow there to be a certain amount of crime associated with the thing I've legalized, and that's acceptable. And it's not, because it's a real fact of what you're opening the door to. So you keep pretending that I can open this barn door and only horses go out, and the cows don't leave, and the sheep don't leave, and everything else doesn't go right out the same fucking door. I mean, it's a non sequitur for you to pretend that A doesn't lead to B, doesn't lead to C, that there isn't cause and fucking effect in the real fucking goddamn world. And you have to take responsibility for that liability. It's like giving people the right to have nuclear power plants in their backyard. Well, yeah, 99% of them won't blow up. Well, what about the one that does? And if you don't have a solution to that, well, then, yeah, abolitionism is the only way to go. Fuckhead. I hate this playing my video. I mean, I hate listening to my own videos unless I'm just listening to my videos, not cut up. But even worse, fast, and you can't even tell what I'm saying. So, but yeah, it's just sort of a waste of time, redundant. But that's what we're stuck with. Well, anyway, this limited subject probably goes on for half the video, so maybe I'll just move on till he gets to some point where he deals with the fact. I mean, he just whitewashed weight, right? It's a real serious issue that, like all these addictive things, this thing just leads to the more extreme, and that it will go to the forbidden fruit. He's just going to pretend that's not a reality, that's not the market you're going to create. And it's the market you're going to create. You're going to facilitate it. You're going to necessitate it. Where abolition just makes it all go away in a sense. Out of sight, out of mind. And that's what you got to hope for. Like I said, gambling could be ended tomorrow. And for 90% of the gamblers, if you kick it out of sight, it's out of their mind. Yes, there'll be 10% who will still have to do something. They'll have to go underground and do illegal gambling. But the point is for 90% of the market, it'll go away. Because out of sight, out of mind. He just is so annoying. So he just keeps saying age of consent laws solve the problem. And, it's just no understanding of supply and demand, right? I mean, if there's demand and money, there's going to be a supply. And then he says, point to the law that fixed the problem. And you could just point to abolition. And if you want to use that word, you could go back to alcohol. Abolition. I'm sure it fixed the problem. I'm sure fewer wives were beaten. I'm sure most people drank a lot less. Most people. Especially in the beginning. I mean, obviously, once the whole underworld crime speakeasy thing happened, maybe it got a little worse. But I'm sure the statistics on people killed on the highways and all of that kind of shit went way down. And I'm sure there was a lot more domestic tranquility in a lot of places because of the abolition of convenient alcoholism. I'm sure it did people a lot of good. You don't think so? Fine. I think you're an idiot. But I had thought that mostly before I started watching the video. Just, sort of just confirming it now. Thank you.
The realistic thing here is that the whole thing has just gotten so messy as a conversation just because of the disease transmission thing. And that's clearly a problem. I mean, statistics on people in the porn industry or the prostitution industry aren't good, okay? You want to live.
Well, if you had read the study I linked in the last video, not the Oxford study, but another lengthy study that looks into false causation and false correlation myths perpetuated by the abolitionist groups, there's the best way to ensure that you get as many people using protection as possible is to make it a legal market.
Yeah, and obviously it doesn't work though. I mean, just pretend it doesn't. It work. It's a perfect solution, and it solves enough of the problem to say it's okay. It doesn't. I'm just saying, if a woman works in the industry for 20 years, which she won't be able to because, yeah, she won't be able to compete with the 13-year-olds in the illegal market, the odds are she's going to have something. She's going to get something for this lifestyle, if that's what you want to call it. And so no one's going to volunteer to take on what the market says, which the market says, yeah, what, you can't really harshly discriminate, so, you're going to be stuck with all kinds of really dirty people. So every hooker you sleep with, you got to think about every other disgusting thing she's had in her. Get real. Just pretend all that away, though. There aren't a good reason. Some of the people who have to buy it for a good reason, idiot.
The blacker the market, the less protection is going to be used.
And the blacker the market, the less people use the market. So again, just keep pretending that the market is just as big, whether you legalize drugs or if they legalize marijuana, let's just pretend more people won't smoke marijuana, right? Let's just pretend that's the truth. Bullshit. It's not the truth. All right, so you want to live in a world where people drink more and smoke more and do more drugs, and I'm saying, no, I'd rather not. I'd rather not them being in prison. I don't want to put people in prison for this shit, but I think there's nothing in society that should say this is the way people should live their lives, intoxicated, moronerized by some sort of fucking coping device that makes them a threat to other people's tranquility, okay, that gets them killed randomly by these blights. Yeah, I think we're better off with any of that stuff, and as a society, I think it certainly is the obligation of civilization to preserve it, to sit there and subsidize good, and don't subsidize bad. Don't give it license. Shit.
Just like all the other industries. I said I was going to analogize it to the other industries, to the other...
Well, yeah, it's not an industry, okay? It produces fluff and shit. It produces goo and slime. So fuck you. So it's not an industry, all right? It's entertainment. It's superfluous mush, in a sense. In a sense that there should be more... reasonable ways for people to derive this magic, and again, I'm still going to argue that as soon as you turn into something that is, it's just like I said, I don't think you can take the exploitation out of it unless you make everybody millionaires. So make everybody a millionaire, and then tell me they make a free choice to sleep with disgusting, horrible people. And that's just bullshit. And that's most of the market, so why are we having this conversation? I mean, it's just bullshit. You want to pretend that prostitution is about, very stylish people, having a fun evening, and, one of them decides to pick up the check. Bullshit. So, yeah. Fantasy. Nonsense. Rubbish. You're an idiot.
Professions in the previous video, but you're really twisting my hand with this bullshit. It stands to reason that the black market is going to have less safeguards. So...
And again, who's advocating a black market? I'm not... It's just so stupid to say, well, it's either, some sort of... it's just about sanction. So I'm just saying, you can still discourage activity without abolitionism. Like I said, again, what are you talking about? We shoot people or we kill people? I'm not. I tell you, frankly, for the sake of civilization, it might not be a bad idea. Because there's just so many people who think, that they're entitled to take, that they can do stuff that risks other people's lives. That they can like bungee jump from the bridge that other people have to drive across to get to work and cause traffic accidents, or some of them hang glide and land in the middle of the highway or something and cause cars to fly off the bridge, or some other. Yeah, they're just so self-indulgent, like they all have rights to all this shit, and they don't. You really don't have a right to exploit, so fuck that. And again, you haven't explained how you've taken the exploitation. You have any hope of taking the exploitation out of this? Well, enough.
Let's see where you take it from here.
Yeah, well, let's see.
Long, healthy life. This isn't the job for you.
Yeah, I'm still talking about the fact that the subject you just totally ignored, like with your pretend statistics, that somehow it's a misnomer. Oh, it's complete nonsense that there's a disease risk associated with promiscuous sexual activity or numerous sexual activity or highly active sexual partner activities or something. Oh yeah, no risk involved. Fuck you. Oh, gee, it's just so full of bullshit for an anti-bullshit man. Just so full of shit. So anyway, so it's basically saying, where has deterrence worked? Like everywhere it's been applied. And the more deterrence you create, the more it works. So, I mean, what a stupid argument to be making. Yeah, deterrence works. It does, fucker. I'm deterred from planting marijuana plants in my backyard. It works. I'd be growing marijuana if I could do it legally. Would that be good for society? More marijuana, cheaper. More potheads. Oh, swell. Yeah, that's really great for civilization. Yeah, let's have more of that. No, let's not. I mean, fuck you. You're an idiot. Okay, and then he says you don't micromanage people. So if you can't convince people to voluntarily do things, then you're not allowed to do anything else. So seatbelt laws, that's bullshit. Forcing people to buy child safety seats, that's bullshit. Laws against letting your dog poo all over the sidewalks, that's bullshit. Laws against littering, that's bullshit. Pollution, that's bullshit. So if you can't get people to do it without a penalty, therefore you shouldn't have penalties. You shouldn't discourage the act. You shouldn't say, no, you're not going to do that for free. Well, again, that's what you mean by abolitionism, right? I mean, how draconian do the penalties have to be for violations here? Exactly. I mean, I don't remember them arresting people for drinking all that much. They arrested people for producing and selling. But whatever. You're an idiot.
My ultimate lack of tolerance toward paternalistic policies somehow spills over to a cultural attitude of non-judgmentalism.
Well, again, what point is the judgment? The judgments don't mean anything if you're not going to make them practical. So, again, if you believe something is right or wrong and you're not willing to fight for it, you don't think the victims matter enough, right? That's what it usually comes down to. There's a victim involved somehow. That's why I would advocate for a policy, because there's a victim involved, and the victim is who I'm defending, you stupid cunt. So this is just so you're just basically saying, yeah, I just don't give a fuck enough about the people on my victim list. I just don't give a fuck enough about them to fight for them. So that's all you're saying.
By all means, look at my other channel. I titled the damn video, and during the course of the video...
yeah, so that gives you some right? Okay, abolitionism, what does that mean exactly? Does that mean you kill people for violating the act of abolitionism, or does it mean you discourage it as a government? And there's not too much wrong with maybe discouraging shit. You pay a bit of a fine. Your life is a little less comfortable for a few days. Something like that.
Out how non-judgmentalism on a cultural level is nonsensical, no matter what the subject is. Everything.
Again, judgment without action is that's less than wanking. Okay, that's like a woman wanking. I don't know if it's going to get her anywhere.
Is worthy of being scrutinized, but just because you can scrutinize it doesn't mean you can make it illegal. Should you fail to persuade your opposition. This is political theory 101.
Political theory is you have actual politics. So you're pretending that there's some sort of political theory without any politics. Winners and losers, where you actually have to put it on the line, so to speak, and say there has to be decisiveness. Mush is not the answer. Mush. We'll just let it stay muddy water. We won't have dirt or water. We'll just have mud. Now.
1. Can you please separate the cultural and the legal?
No. Well, what other use is the legal but to preserve the cultural, you stupid shit? I mean, is there some other cause involved, but some sort of cultural interest to preserve? Retard.
Like gambling, for example. There's nothing valuable in this. We can find some other way to entertain people, I'm sure. I'm quite confident that all these people who gamble can find some other way to get off, so to speak.
Damn straight. But the point is, even if you make gambling illegal, which you might not be directly making the argument for in this video, but I think you're tacitly sympathetic.
Yes, I'm tacitly sympathetic that the world was a better place before government got in the gambling business. That's right. Yeah, it was, okay? Society was a better place before Las Vegas and before Atlantic City and before lotteries. It's all just corrosive crap that just exploits people's weaknesses. And that's all. And it's crap. Yes, civilization is better without it. Don't encourage it, discourage it.
To it without realizing it even. But it's not the activity of gambling that they're going to miss if it becomes illegal. Whatever we want to use, alcohol, right? Most drugs are illegal. Drug war's still a thing in 2016. Amazingly, it's the current year. So.
Yeah, amazingly, people don't want to get killed. Have their kids killed by some stupid dopey pothead. Yeah, and we already got enough alcoholics killing them.
No one's going to get that.
I mean, nobody takes any responsibility for anything, right? I mean, if you want to, just put it on the line and say, okay, these are the rules, and if you violate these rules, then you're going to pay a price for it. But I mean, this idea of having airline pilots or what we should give all these people the right, to go on frickin', drug benders and then show up for work and say, I'm fine, really, I'm really okay, no problem. I'm supposed to be here today, right?
What you do is simply point out that the individual...
Look, all this liberty shit is just fine as long as you take accountability. So, yeah, you want to have legalized prostitution, well, then have a tax, more taxes on the prostitution, and just say, well, now you're going to have to pay for the health care, and you're going to have to pay for... having prohibitions against the minors on the street, so you're going to have to pay for extra law enforcement and all this stuff to prevent the black market that you're encouraging through this behavior. The acceleration of people's amorous desire. The fact that it is a gateway kind of drug, okay? Lisa is a gateway to Monique, and then Monique's a gateway to Fred. And you don't know where it's going to go then.
Doesn't miss the activity in and of itself. The individual is perturbed psychologically by the fact that the government is preventing them from doing something.
Yeah, right, and if they never knew what it was to have it in the first place, they're not going to miss it, is the truth about most of this bullshit. So let's just keep pretending that there's just no other answer but succumbing to all the indulgences of human debauchery. There's no reason to have to just give up. Okay, you can fight for civilization. You can have it, and it doesn't have to be horridly draconian, but it just, yes, in a way you want to try to create instrumentality that gets people to better places, gets them to be more mentally, physically fit, so to speak, to live life without being an exploitionist fuck.
That's what drives them up the wall, and rightfully so. When you try to micromanage whatever it is, whatever segment of...
Again, you'll put everything can be called micromanagement. Every single fucking thing. Okay, you're micromanaging my rightful anger at my neighbor because, their dog ate my cat, and so I'm going to go kill that fucker. What are you micromanaging my anger for? I have a right to be angry. That cat was like my daughter or something, and, it's my best friend. And they murdered him. So I should go fucking, rip their faces off and eat them for dinner. What are you micromanaging me for, you cunt? I mean, fuck you. This is nonsense. I mean, that's an extreme example, but I'm just saying, all this stuff is micromanagement. All these legislations that make life tolerable, make our food safe to eat, and all this other kind of shit. You're not going to have any of that without micromanaging, because people suck.
Of people's personal lives it is. It's not the segment in and of itself. It is the very notion that they're being micromanaged.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, this psychological babble. Again, you're just talking out of your face. Okay, there's no evidence that people will always think anything that is at all impinging on them is micromanagement. So what's the point? What, there's extreme micromanagement? Don't they know the difference between enough and too much? Yeah, I don't think they do. Like anything else, I don't think they have any understanding of within reason. So anyway, I'll try to hop along a little here. But this is, well, whatever. Disappointed by everybody. But this is stupid.